Coco Chanel is very often associated with black, the little black dress, the black suit, or when people buy the 255 bag, they very often opt for black. But did you know that the designer actually had a big passion for white? Let's have a look. Coco Chanel knew about the power of white long before the trend. During the Great Depression in the late 1920s and 1930s, she actually called it candid innocence and white satin, and I have another quote for you. I have said that black had everything. White too. They have an absolute beauty. It is perfect harmony. Dress women in white or black at a ball, they are the only ones you see. Coco Chanel never was a bride herself. She did have long-term relationships, for example with Etienne Balsan, Arthur Capel, or the Duke of Westminster, but she never got married. Yet she understood the power of a white dress. And Gabrielle Chanel herself was very often seen wearing white. For example, in 1931, she was spotted with couturier Lucien Lelong in white pajamas, which she paired with bejeweled bracelets. At her villa at La Pausa, as it was called, she played tennis in a white outfit with white shoes and a white hat. And she was also spotted on a yacht in a crisp white dress with a matching jacket, despite the really bad weather. And also when she attended balls in Paris or Monte Carlo, she loved to wear white gowns, which she paired with her signature pearl necklaces. This is also something which her clientele really appreciated, especially for the June balls in 1930. In that year, it felt that France was still kind of closing its eyes towards what was going to come. Everybody was still celebrating and the women loved to wear white. And there's another interesting story involving Coco Chanel and a white dress. In 1928, she was supposed to attend a ball organized by the Duke of Westminster. The Duke back then was one of the richest men in the world, but he was also the long-term relationship of Coco Chanel. He had already been divorced from his first wife, and he hosted this ball for his youngest daughter Mary, who personally invited also Coco Chanel. Chanel hosted a dinner party and it was attended by Mary, the Duke and other close family members. And when it came to the time of leaving to the ball, Chanel excused herself and said, "You all leave, you go ahead, I have to change out of my white dress and then I will meet you at the ball." Coco Chanel ended up never attending that ball because, of course, there was gossip, there was chatter already before the ball about the Duke hosting this ball for his daughter, and then he would attend not only with his ex-wife but also his mistress. So of course Chanel wanted to escape that, and then she said she was unwell and she couldn't come. She even put some talcum powder on her skin, so when the Duke then came to check on her, she looked pale and said she was unwell, but he found it kind of amusing because then she admitted, and I have a quote for you: "You see, in the first place, I don't like doing things that bore me. And in the second, you wouldn't really have liked it either." The white dress had already given it away that she didn't plan on attending, because there was no way that somebody like Coco Chanel would attend the coming out ball of her lover's daughter in attendance of the ex-wife in a bridal white gown. Coco Chanel included white into her collections, but there's actually more to white than just this inclusion in her collections. Experts such as Justine Picardie assume that white reminded her of the nuns at Aubazine. Aubazine was the convent or orphanage that Gabrielle Chanel was sent to after her mother's death and after her father abandoned her. And people close to her, for example Claude Delay or her niece Gabrielle Labrunie, said that Gabrielle Chanel always insisted on sleeping in crisp white cotton sheets, and this is also a hint to her childhood at Aubazine. And what is very interesting is that white stands for purity and innocence, but Chanel used it for very seductive creations, seductive dresses that looked very ethereal at the same time, so she was playing with the meaning. And Chanel also liked the contrast of white on bronzed skin. She also tanned her skin. She came to appreciate this during her holidays at the French Riviera. But this was something quite new, because at the time women were not supposed to actively tan their skin. A tanned skin was associated with manual labor, for example with workers on the field, so well-to-do women were supposed to be fair and not tanned. So this was something that Coco Chanel also heavily popularized among her clientele. Chanel also knew about the importance of precision when working with white. She used to say it's not meant to look like whipped cream, so she knew that everything had to be done very precisely so that white actually looks good on a client. Furthermore, she also knew about the spiritual meaning of white, and the funeral of her friend Raymond Radiguet, which she organized in 1923, is proof of that. She organized a white coffin, and this coffin was pulled by a white carriage with white horses, and also all the flowers were white. And this was also a link to European royalty or the French queens, because for them the color of deepest mourning was not black, it was actually white. And in 1929, one of her very close friends, Sergei Diaghilev, was terminally ill in Venice. Chanel and her friend Misha Sert went to see him in Venice, and before he passed away he said, "Promise me that the two of you will only wear white, you look so beautiful in white." When they then organized his funeral, Chanel not only paid all of his debts, she and Misha actually wore white at the funeral to honor his last wish. I already mentioned Chanel and bridal gowns. She herself, as I said, was never a bride, and she also rarely designed bridal gowns for her clients. She did in the 1930s. She also created the bridal gown for her sister Antoinette, who got married and then left with 17 pieces of luggage to North America. Soon after she left the husband, she ran away to Buenos Aires and died of alcohol poisoning. Chanel never talked about this because this was also very soon after her love of her life, Arthur Capel, had died in a car accident. Chanel also rarely talked about her aunt's wedding. Adrienne, her aunt, was only 1 year older and they were really close. She was her witness, and Adrienne got married to the Baron de Nexon after 20 years of dating, which was a scandal at the time, also because the Baron's family did not agree to the marriage. And another very important white dress was her first communion dress, and this may be one of the reasons why she was so passionate about white. Coco Chanel claimed that her father sent her this dress for her first communion. We don't know if this is true because, as you may know, with her personal story, it is always a bit difficult because she tended to invent certain parts to enhance her story. She also covered up certain parts of her story. So she told the story that he sent the dress. And that she initially cherished it, but then she found out that her father's tart, as she called the woman he was seeing, chose it. And then she ended up hailing that dress. We don't know if this is true. It could have also been that the nuns at Aubazine gave her this dress, but for some reason Coco Chanel crafted the story around this dress and she kept bringing it up. And many people refer to this dress as a very important source of inspiration for her. We will never be able to say if the story was true or not, but obviously this dress was very important to her and it contributed to this passion for white. And she also expressed this passion in 1933 when she created an all-white collection, which was very well received by the clients and also the fashion magazines. And I personally find it really interesting that obviously white was such an important factor for her creations, but usually we only talk about black when we think about Coco Chanel. What about you? Did you know about Coco Chanel's passion for white, or did you also mostly associate her with black? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also head over to thepinklookbook.com for more fashion related articles, and don't forget to check out my fashion label Pelagona. And if you like this video, I'm sure you would enjoy watching my video about the 7 basic fashion facts you have to know about Coco Chanel. Thank you very much for watching and see you soon.